if a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with the woman, even both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. And that, my friend, is the cure for AIDS.
To send the police in 2019 out to these LGBT freaks and arrest them and have a trial for them, and if they are convicted, then they are to be put to death.
They are worthy of death. These people should be put to death. Every single homosexual in our country should be charged with the crime, the abomination of homosexuality that they have. They should be convicted in a lawful trial. They should be sentenced with death. They should be lined up against the wall and shot in the back of the head.
I can't think of a single thing they have to be prideful for. Everything about them is immoral, unnatural, or indecent. Nothing about them has anything to do with normality. I think they try to shove all of this absurdity down people's throats because they know deep down that this pride they feel is in fact everything I said, and they are trying to convince themselves that they are normal. And if they can convince real, normal people that they're normal too, that it will make it so. Kadari Johnson, 16. Oliver Taylor, 17. Brianna J., 16. And Scotty Joe Weaver, 18. If approximately 80% of Americans support LGBTQ+ rights, then why do 52% of queer youth report being bullied, 41% seriously consider suicide and are at greater risk, and 24% report being physically threatened or harmed?
I mean, in 5th grade, I was outed, and then no one wanted to talk to me. I mean, back in 5th grade, gay was the best insult anyone could come up with. And in middle school, when I came out as trans, I did face a lot of transphobia from that. And even more recently, into like 10th grade, I've had some incidents.
I remember I was the most hard on myself instead of other people. There was this girl, and she would go around and she would tell all of the new kids that I was gross and dirty and I liked girls, and she would influence people not to talk to me.
I thought that a guy was just seriously asking questions about my identity, because being non-binary, people have questions and I'm always happy to answer them, but he wasn't doing it for those good purposes. And it escalated to him using some words that I don't think I can repeat here, and asking about my genitalia.
Have you experienced harassment or bullying in schools?
Well, not here. Well, it's funny because literally today I was just posted on a Snapchat page that everyone in the school can see. Yeah, so mine started in elementary school, my bullying and harassment. Or like maybe like 5th grade, I started being calling like the F slur, just, thrown around. 6th grade was virtual, so I was fine. I was fine virtual. 7th was hell. Just utter. 7th grade was the most terrible experience of my life, definitely. 8th grade year, close second. Because everyone, I started being outed to people during 8th grade. People would make fun of me. I was literally posted about on Instagram, on my school's T page all the time.
I feel like I realize when I'm in a situation where people would be like negative towards me, like I can present more masculine if I don't feel comfortable. Like An example of that is first semester this year, I was in a class, I didn't know anyone that knew I was trans, so I just presented masculine and didn't say anything because I was worried that I wouldn't have anyone to like back me up if something happened.
Queer students should have their right to a safe and supportive schooling environment protected, but as of right now, there are 484 anti-queer bills being tracked across America. The sheer number of them is daunting, with over 220 targeting specifically transgender and non-binary people. Florida's SB 254 bill states that public funds are forbidden from being used to provide benefits that include gender-affirming care, such as Medicaid. Any health care regarding transition is prohibited for patients under the age of 18, including puberty blockers and hormones. Healthcare providers who give gender-affirming care to anyone under the age of 18 are heavily penalized. Arizona's SB 1166 bill requires schools to notify parents if an employee or independent contractor knowingly addresses a student by pronouns different than the pronouns that align with their assigned gender at birth, and if the student wishes to go by a preferred name. This bill also allows for faculty to misgender students based on religious or moral reasons. Those who need gender-affirming care cannot get it, putting them at higher risk of suicide and mental illness. Those who wish to express themselves freely in school, a supposed safe space, are at risk of being forcibly outed to their parents, which can result in suicide, teen homelessness, and physical or mental abuse. Faculty can disrespect students based on their own personal religions and moral convictions. Is a student identifying in a different way from the status quo immoral? What about students' religious and cultural identities? Cultures all around the world have examples of third genders. There's the Indian Hijara, the Bugis Kalalai, Kalabai, and Bisu, Mexican Mooks, the Sakalara Sekrata, the Philippines Bakla, the Samoan Fa'afafini and Fa'afatama, and the Native Americans Two-Spirit. Where are the protections for these groups, especially the Two-Spirit in America? Why is the government allowing faculty to inject their religious beliefs into public schooling? Allowing faculty to legally disrespect and discriminate against students clearly does not uphold a separation of religion and state, and perpetuates the idea that if you don't understand or agree with another person's experience, it's okay to invalidate them and disrespect them. If schools want to avoid antagonistic relationships between teachers and students, they need to support mutual respect and open minds.
I think it's restrictive. I don't find it fair that just because you are interested in someone a certain way, or because you want to identify a different way, that people are going to try to stop you.
It makes me, I guess, more aware, like, that I have to focus on politics a lot so that I know what I'll have to do, like, if I'll have to hide it, if I'll have to move out of the country, where it's happening, so that I know where not to go. With bathroom laws especially, it can be harmful for trans women because being forced to use like the male bathroom while you're presenting femme can be like super dangerous. And with gender affirming care, politicians really don't understand it at all. Gender affirming care is the opposite of what causes like suicide a lot of the time. So banning it is going against all the things they claim about how trans people kill themselves at a higher rate because they're just hindering that.
I believe that, since gender isn't what's in your pants, why does it matter to laws?
As a queer person, you sort of have to take an interest in what kind of laws they're passing. And it does scare me, but it scares me. I'm afraid for other people because we live in where these bills are not likely to get passed, but a lot of queer people in other states are not so lucky. I'm certainly not going to be going to any of those states that have passed those anti-LGBTQ laws.
I just recently found out that even if I did have supportive parents, I can't get hormone blockers until I'm 16, I'm pretty sure. And all these laws that are making sure that no trans kids are getting illegal surgeries without their parents, which I do think is important, but it's just I don't think that's a problem that trans people as a whole are making. I think that's a problem with doctors and medical malpractice. I don't think that's an agenda that we're pushing. At 13 and up, I feel like they should be able, with parental consent, of course, to have the supplements that they need to take for their identity.
Yeah.
Parents' rights is generally just a front to harbor like religious sentiments in school, because they not only harm trans and queer youth, but also cis and straight youth. A lot of the time parents' rights is for things like banning sex ed, which leads to higher teen pregnancy rates, higher legal abortion rates, causes a lot more problems than just for the people that they hate. A lot of the time there are plants from far right groups that go to teachers Board of Ed meetings and it's very clear because they don't know what they're talking about. They're lying about the stuff that's in the books. Most of the time parents' rights is not about parents' rights, it's about just not allowing kids to know things. When you're legislating against a group of people, it is just dehumanizing, so it just makes it so that hurting that group just doesn't affect people as much. They won't care if something happens to them.
I think it's a shield for control. They don't really care about the parent's choice. They just care about making sure that kids aren't different. I think that trying to legislate away someone's existence is evil. These bills will lead to kids dying. I myself have struggled with suicidal ideation. It's something that I have went through, and I am open to talking about, especially with other queer people, because it matters for us to know that we aren't alone and that life is worth living.
Just generally being more accepting, which obviously some people aren't going to be, but if more students are willing to stick up for those that are being punched down upon by people that are transphobic or homophobic, I think that would be good.
When I came out, I was terrified I would lose my family and my home, so I stayed in the closet for years and intended on doing so indefinitely because I wasn't sure if my parents would still love me if they knew the truth. So I waited years for my identity to change so I wouldn't disappoint them, and so that way nothing would change, because I didn't want them to stop loving me or to kick me out or for things to get more difficult, because that was scary. So even though I waited and waited, nothing happened. I didn't magically become ungay just because I really wanted to, and that's something people really need to understand, that being gay isn't a choice and it's not unnatural. Studies suggest as many as over 1,500 species practice same-sex coupling or have different hundreds of sexes in some cases depending on the organism. In nature, sex is not a binary, and neither is attraction or coupling, because for example geese or swans, they mate for life, and there are indeed homosexual swan couples, and it's not just all about the reproduction. It's not just one thing humping another. No, they stay together, and there's many species that do this. It's not just humans, and it's not unnatural for humans to love someone of the same sex. Humans only persecute queer people because they don't view them as equals. It's the straight, heterosexual lawmakers and parents that are pushing for restrictions on LGBTQ plus people. And that's because they don't want people that they perceive to be wrong or indecent to have power. And I know that it's scary to try and have a more open mind and to be faced with the unknown, but you can't try to control everything and everyone that doesn't fit into the tiny traditional box of what a person should be, what they should love, and who they really are. Because together we're all human, and Because of that, I feel like we should respect each other's individual experiences and their right to have an individual experience. The people that are pushing for queers to be executed, imprisoned, and rejected, what have we done to you that is so bad we deserve to be miserable for all of our lives, or for our lives to be cut off early? Of course, there's problems within the LGBTQ plus community. There's problems within every person on the planet. But the problem with queer people shouldn't be that they exist. We're people too, regardless of who we love, who we view ourselves to be, and how we express ourselves in the world. Everyone should have the right to pursue a happy life. And even if you are unable to understand us, I ask that you please don't hate us. We are your fellow humans. We aren't monsters or abominations. We're human too. Thank you.